Welcome to Saga Thursday, the show all about the skirmish miniatures game from Studio Tomahawk. I'm your host, Rodge, and it's been a while, but you'll see across from me, it's not Monty. We got Mike from Saga, Ohio. How's it going, man?
It's going great. Don't have the smooth jazz, dulcet tones of Monty going, but I'm doing pretty good. I'm having things telling you before. Things have slowed down a little bit for me at school, so I'm actually kind of enjoying life right now.
Awesome. Well, you are here because we're going to talk some Saga. You graciously agreed to come and discuss the Moors with me. So we've got a faction review of the Moors coming up here. So we are going to talk a little bit about the equipment options and then dig into the battle board and maybe come up with some overall conclusions, tactics, strategies, or like that at the end. So why don't you give me a little bit of your background on the Moors? And I guess I should say you're on the Saga Ohio podcast. So if they've probably heard your voice before, but they've never seen your beautiful mug on the screen here. So
yeah, so now they'll definitely be saying, well, he should stick to radio. He's got a face made for radio. I started playing the Moors. It was, I believe, the fourth faction in Saga I started playing. The first of the Crusades ones. I wanted to play an Age of Crusades faction, but I'd had some experience on the wrong end of the Crusades, which I think is the premier list, besides your pagan peoples, which are like out of this world. Yeah, the premier list in the book, and I was like, I don't want to play the Crusades because they're so tough and everybody plays them. I want something different. And I'm a 7th grade history teacher, so one of the parts of the Middle Ages that we teach the kids about is the southern Spain, the Moors or Andalusia. And it was really an amazing time in history, in European history, and they had such a great, scientific and cultural thing going on. I said, hey, that's what I want. I tell the kids, every year that, if you wanted to be alive in Middle Ages time, that's where you want to live. That's where the Kurds would be closest to it. So I said,
cool.
I said, historical reason I wanted to play the Moors. I had no idea how the battle board would work or anything like that, and then. To my amazement and my sheer and utter joy that the tactics I saw that would work well with the battle board are the exact historical tactics that they use. So I really enjoyed playing the Moors, and so it was kind of a convergence of the history and the game aspect of it that I really enjoyed.
Cool. That's awesome that it really aligns for you strategically with the board abilities and stuff. And not all the boards do that necessarily. I've been playing Invasions, and each of the different barbarian kind of factions has its own interesting mechanics, but probably doesn't actually correspond to any tactics other than like aggression, I guess. They're all aggressive boards overall. But, that's cool. So why don't we just jump into the troop types here and options so we know what we're talking about when we get to the battle board abilities. So I'll just say the Warlord mounted on a horse, no option there. And
right. Recommended to have a cheetah on the base with him too, like Majik bin Batuta al-Wakad does, but that's just my thing.
Ooh, nice. I like that pronunciation. That's must be a historical character.
Interestingly, it's a mix. The Ibn Battuta is one of my favorite people from history. I'm a big traveler, and he's a big Moroccan traveler that took off at age 21 to go on his Hajj to Mecca, and came back like 21 years later. He traveled and traveled and traveled all across the known world, and so I had to throw him in there. And I've always liked the name Majik, and Al-Wakad means the shield, so I figured there we go.
Awesome.
We got a good fictional name, and the cheetah comes in where I usually like to put a dog or something on the base with my warlords, but the Middle Eastern culture is not really that fond of dogs, and I thought, well, I got to come up with another animal. I thought, well, perfect. They used to domesticate cheetahs in North Africa, the Egyptians and everybody like that. So there is a slight 1% historical accuracy in that.
Inspired by, that's what Saga's all about, not
Yes, inspired by history.
truly, in the accounts, but inspired, passed around the campfire tales. So awesome. That's perfect. So your warlord's mounted on a horse. He's got a cheetah bud. The Hearthguards are mounted on horses, but they're equipped with javelins, mandatory, which is interesting.
And those are my hammer. Those are my you take 3 points of them, and they're my workhorse. They do just about everything. And so if they have a bad night, the arm has a bad night. But on the face of it, you're saying, what the heck? Hearthguard with javelins. That sounds terrible. But the way I use them with the battle board abilities, they usually don't take too many casualties, unless of course they're playing the pagan peoples. Then 1% casualties.
Sure. Yeah. It's always those everything's riding on a few dice rolls with the Hearthguards. Can you make the defense saves or not? You're sweating. Okay, so you're taking 3 points of the Hearthguard in your typical list. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, that's kind of Crusades, for the Crusades book, it's really pushing Hearthguard. So it'll be interesting. He was digging into the battle board abilities. I'm sure really support those guys. And so you've got warriors with no special equipment on foot, or they can be mounted on horses with javelins as well.
And I went back and forth on that. And I was intending to have some mounted with javelins and be part of my missile attack. But in the end, I went with foot option, my spearmen, as I call them, and they're really my wall. They are the ones that I stick out there, in the opponent's face, and, the historical tactic I was talking about, my Hearthguard flow around them, throw their javelins, and run away, or charge in and come back. And so they're very important. They're a huge part of my battle plan. And if my warriors are dying to bowfire or whatever, then it puts a big kink in my battle plans. I don't have the protection, the shield that I need for my Hearthguard, because we all know how invulnerable a 4 armor class Hearthguard can be. So
yes, definitely don't want to get those guys charged or shot at. So that makes sense, having some bodies out there running interference. And then I think when we played, you had a levy unit, so they can take crossbows or bows. Do you have a preference there?
I go with the bows, mainly because I think historically they say the crossbows are supposed to be the later ones, which would be like the time of, Grenada, the last of them. I try to play the Emirate or the Caliphate of Cordoba, or Cordoba, depending on which pronunciation you want to go with. But so I go with the early one, also because I don't know. I like to have them. If I can get it, and of course Monty was terrified of this when I played him, if I can get both the Hearthguard, I do go with 2 6-packs, and my archers shooting at the same one, without just one shot of already throwing 18 dice at one target. And that's if they have no fatigue that I can bump it up with, or I don't shoot a second time with my foot archers. So I kind of like the archers just for, I don't have to use as many dice on them. I can use like maybe 1 Weobay and 1 uncommon, and I can get 2 shots out of them. And so crossbows, I think they got to be a dedicated part of your battle plan. And for me, it's all about the mounted Hearthguard, and everybody else is just support troops.
Awesome. That's good to hear. A lot of people prefer the crossbows, but I'm kind of with you, being able to activate them 3 times in a row perhaps if that scenario calls on it, is huge. And I've done that before. So having that flexibility is huge. And, in my book, worth forgoing the +1, but we'll take a look at the board and see if other folks would agree with that. So I'm looking at the battle board now. Up top, it looks like the typical stuff up there. Is that right?
Yeah, they've got the activation pool. Although I'm very stingy with my rares, and I really hate to give, unless I were to have that long term when you roll 3 of them, I hate to give them up. But they've got that. Combat bonus I'll use every once in a while, but usually I have especially later in the game, I have some better stuff I can do. So yeah, it's a normal board, normal top part of the board, but I tend not to use combat bonus activation pool with this army that often.
Okay, cool. I think that's an indicator of a good board. If you're using combat bonus more than incidental, something's wrong. You should be using your abilities for the most part, and it's good to hear that they've got a couple good rare abilities that really entice you to use them, because not all boards have that either. So cool. I'm excited to hear about that. Why don't you jump down to Storm of Blades? That's the first ability I'm seeing here. It's
okay, and okay, go ahead. You can go ahead
sure,
with the intro
yeah,
part.
I was just going to say it's a common and an uncommon dice, and it's a melee ability, and I'll let you speak about it.
So I have a certain plan that I do with this army, and Storm of Blades never falls into that plan. I would say that if I've used it once, I'm surprised, because there's the other one on the diagonally opposite part of the board that I use as many times in a game as I can. So Storm of Blades, I could see if you had. A lot of people like to do the Moors as like this foot wave, wave of, and I could see you doing it then, because you don't need that many other many other abilities. You just push them forward, and you want your big attack or whatever. Then I could see Storm of Blades being a good one. But I actually like some other things to use for when I go in for that attack. So I almost never use Storm of Blades. It's just too dice hungry for me. That second dice just puts it out of the cost range. And I would say there's this, and there's one other ability on this board that I pretty much never use. And Storm of Blades is well, for better or worse, is one of those.
Wow, that's interesting. So
what do you see? Do you see a lot more potential in that one?
I'm going to read it out just for the people who are too lazy to look at the screen if they're painting right now. So your opponent must reroll all their attack dice which score a hit, or you may reroll all your attack dice which do not score a hit. So that's the first part, but either one of those sounds great to me. But after resolving the entire melee, both units suffer an additional fatigue. So that's kind of a, I guess, double-edged sword there. Because at first, right. I think, this would be a great ability to protect your Hearthguard if you're throwing them into combat with your lower armor, and you don't want them hitting you. Especially if you could pump up your armor to a 5 or even a 6. You could take 20 attacks if they're hitting you on a 6 with rerolls. Nothing's getting through. But I guess you don't want 2 fatigues on your Hearthguard unit after the combat. Is that the main reason, or is it more the dice angle?
That's a big part of it, because if my mounted Hearthguard are in range of you after a combat's been fought, I made a mistake. I counted out my activations wrong, and I should have been able to pull them back. Almost every single time I bring them into combat, I try to pull them back out of range of the opponent's counterstrike. So this one adds that additional. You're going to be able to cancel my activation, or even more sneakily, if you see another dice up there, you're going to make both of them short, and I'm not getting anywhere, and I'm going to still be within your range. And the other thing is, the half, it's the or thing. In the half where you get to reroll ours, there's a 1 dice version of that over to the right that I like a lot better. But yeah, you're right. It is tasty at first to make them reroll all their hits on your guys. But my classic way of going in with these guys is, a lot of times, I've raised my armor to 6 and the other guy's exhausted, and he couldn't hit at me anyway. So it's kind of a pointless thing.
That'll work for you. Cool. That makes sense. And I guess the other way to look at it is, put it on a kind of a sacrificial unit of some kind. But then, it's 2 dice. You're rolling your attack dice. If it's a crappy unit, you might only have 3, 4, 5, 6 attacks anyways. So it's not going to be doing much for you for the 2 dice that you're paying. So I guess I could see that not getting used as much as you would think.
Right. I just think there's better ones out there on the board.
Okay. Well, I'm going to pop down. I think there's probably a better ability here. I'm thinking probably every turn. This one's probably getting used. Perseverance. It's a uncommon or a rare. Activate 2 foot units or 2 mounted units. 3 if you use the juicy rare. So, I mean, that's got to be every turn, right? Or
every single turn, and I usually don't even need the rare over here because I run my Hearthguard in 2 units of 6, so the 2's enough for them. But yeah, my plan is to send them forward, whether they're going to throw their javelins or whether they're going to actually charge home, and pull both of them back with perseverance. So yeah, pretty much every single time. So if I throw those dice and I see no crescents, out there, I'm like, what am I gonna do now? I've got to do old school and just pile up the dice in the Hearthguard activation abilities. So yeah, I love that ability. Two of my mounted units for 1 uncommon. That's beautiful.
Yeah, this is huge. There's no restrictions on it at all. It doesn't have to be a move or a charge or something specific. Very versatile. Would be great with your levy if you want to activate your levies more than one. It takes an uncommon anyways to activate them, so you could activate another unit on top of it with this if you wanted to go for foot. So sounds like you have some foot guys and some mounted guys, so probably not.
And every once in a while I do the 2 foot units get to move. Typically when it's a resting turn, like if both my units went into combat or something and I pulled them back and they're double fatigued, I'm like, well, we're not going in with them anyway, so we'll move the foot units with perseverance this time, and they'll kind of reposition the wall a little bit.
Cool. Awesome. Great ability. And it sounds like there's other places you're using the rare, so I guess we'll find out. I don't know if we'll find out right now. Doubts is the next one down. Activation reaction, another uncommon or rare. And I'll just read this out. Trigger this ability after the resolution of an enemy rest activation. Place a fatigue on another unit within medium of the unit which rested, and up to 2 other units if you used a rare. So, I don't know. Is this the time to use the rare, Mike?
No, this is definitely not the time to use the rare. This is one of the 3 ones on the board that one of the abilities I just do not use. I mean, I think about it from time to time, and I'm like, ooh, so he's going to rest this unit here, and then I'll get to pop it over to that unit there. But the rests occur at the beginning of the turn, and there's probably nothing preventing him from resting that unit too. At that point.
Sure, yeah.
So I'm not a big fan of putting fatigue on an opponent in their turn, especially really early in their turn, because they just, okay, well, I won't make this one attack over here, and I'll use those dice I was going to use to rest these guys up, you fatigued. So doubts is about what I feel about this ability. I have some serious doubts about its usefulness, but it's situational. You could find a use, especially if there's like you had an idea to go in for their warlord or something, and this isn't one of those you can't. That's Discord that you can't put it on the hero, but you can maybe throw it over on the warlord. They're like, but like I said, once again, they're just going to use their determination to rest then. So.
Yeah, I think this one might be one of those that is better towards the end of the game when they literally only have 2 or 3 units and like they need to take an action on their, then they just have to kind of suck it up. They don't have a lot of Saga dice to just rest it off right away. They need to move, attack, and it's kind of reminds me of the Anglo-Danes. Have a kind of a similar ability that also is right in the first half of the game. Who cares? If they're using it, but then towards the end of the game, it's like, don't have enough activations to just nullify this.
And what you just said kind of and maybe gave me another idea where you could possibly use it at the end of the game when he's like, okay, and you could see which unit is going to charge, and they're fresh, and you use that, and suddenly they get they get a fatigue thrown on them, and now you can shorten their move up, and suddenly they can't hit you. Especially if they don't have that extra dice to, So yeah, I agree with you. End of the game would be where this would kind come into more use. But
Yeah,
into the game, you may not have that uncommon available.
Especially when their warlord is, exhausted or too, like, you have to rest your warlord. So, like, they're going to rest him. And so, for sure you'll be able to pop the ability because you got to rest your warlord if he's exhausted. So
right, yeah. So I haven't used it, but I thanks for the tip. I think that that may be something I'll keep in mind more at the end game. Personally, I'd rather be at the end game where it's not even in doubt. The battle's not even in doubt, and I've got the other opponent crushed and crying and running from the field. But there are games that are close, and this could be a decider with keeping him from charging you.
Yeah, we shall see. It looks like you got a lot of competition for your commons or uncommons and rares, though. So
yeah,
let's pop up to Wholehearted, and I'll just kind of read it out, and then you can kind of describe your thoughts about it. This is a melee shooting or shooting reaction ability. Gain 2 attack dice for each of the enemy unit's fatigues, or it's not or. Is it both? Gain 2 defense dice for each of your fatigues. Okay. So if you're both heavily fatigued, that's the jackpot, the huge payout, the gold comes raining down.
Yeah, I would say this is something I try to use every turn. Obviously, probably not at the beginning of the game when they're not fatigued, but it often sometimes decides who my target is. If I'm just throwing javelins with my Hearthguard, I will run up and target the fatigued unit. So, and especially if you've got them double fatigued or something, that's 4 more attack dice that you're getting for shooting. So that's pretty good. I mean, a 6-man Hearthguard, you throw 6 dice, and you can add up to 6 more of them through advanced Saga abilities. So, a 10 dice throw is nothing to sneeze at there. And Wholehearted is probably the most versatile ability on the whole board. It can be used, like you see in melee shooting. I've never actually ever used it in shooting reaction, but you could use it either way.
Pretty desperate times, I think.
Right. Yeah. So I love this ability. I use it in melee. I use it in shooting. It's probably one of my favorite abilities, and it's probably one of the first places that a uncommon's going to go is on Wholehearted or Perseverance. One of those two, but definitely going to use it if I can.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what's cool is it doesn't actually. You're not spending the fatigue because there are a couple abilities like this where you actually have to spend the fatigue on that like enemy unit to get the benefit of the attack dice, especially for shooting. And this you just get the bonus right there, and the fatigues are still there.
It's a beautiful one.
Charge in, I guess. 2 defense dice for each of your unit's fatigues. Do you use it in melee with your
yes, I do
a lot or
all the time. If my plan is to find some way through the use of the last ability we'll get to, which is my favorite ability on the board, but to make my opponent exhausted. When I charge in. So if you start the turn with a double double fatigue, that's going to be my target, and then so that can be up to 6 dice if they're exhausted that you're going to get from additional attacks. So yeah, I am more than happy to charge in wholeheartedly with Wholehearted because that's a beautiful ability for one. It can, like I said, 1 dice for up to 6, or one uncommon for up to 6 dice. That's nice.
I like what you're doing here with these dad puns. You're working them in. I wonder what else we're going to see here. Some of these might be kind of tricky, but all right. Okay, we're going to go down to the first fact ability. So this one is a Forest of Spears, and previously it was a melee and a shooting reaction. It's since been fact to be a melee-only ability on foot. And what you're going to do is gain 3 defense dice. So sadly, it probably basically was designed not to be able to use it on your Hearthguard when you need it the most.
Right, but it's still okay because remember, my foot are wall, and so they're going to take some sort of hit somewhere in the turn. So almost every turn I'm going to throw a common on that one, on Forest of Spears, because you close ranks and you get 3 bonus dice. You can take it. You can take a few hits. And of course we always have those times when we're not rolling a save at all. But generally, this one making them savable. I know that in my game against Monty when I was up there, I was having one of those can't roll a save, and he was like, "Man, I didn't think I'd be able to do anything to your warriors, closing ranks and 3 bonus dice." I'm like, "Yeah, but you still got to roll a 5 or a 6." But no, it's a great ability. I mean, 3 defense dice for 1 common. I'll take that any day, or uncommon if you happen to have that turn you rolled all uncommons.
Yeah, nice.
But there's a lot of competition for the uncommons on this board, as you can see.
Sure, just the commons. Good. Very versatile. I like it too with the levy. Sometimes you just got to push them into range, and you're going to get hit in the following turn after you shoot. So having defense dice with levy is always extra annoying. They seem to have a better than average success rate in making those saves.
Right. There are that whole 12 guys to kill, and there's the quality of quantity that you got to work. You got to take a long time to work your way through them.
Yeah, so especially if you're at the 12, you're still at the 12 level. Killing 7 of them in one go is pretty tall order. And if you have the defense dice, you kind of guarantee that's most likely not going to happen unless you have some crazy buzzsaw. So you just having that in your back pocket, you kind of know you can maintain your Saga dice to the following turn. I think it's kind of cool.
Yep, good ability. Definitely solid ability.
We got another fact ability here. We got the triple fact board. Used to be the only one, but now there's a couple other ones. They were fact the opposite way of everybody else, though, being toned down here. So Discord is a 2 common dice. Orders ability is what it used to be. Now it's an orders reaction.
Right.
So is that just a clarification, or does that actually change?
I've got it down as a change because what I did is I put the battle boards in Photoshop and actually typed over the abilities, and I actually put in reaction over the top of it. So you only, I believe so. I'd have
only be able to use this on the enemy's turn. Designate 3 non-exhausted friendly units and 3 enemy units. No designated unit may be a hero. Give each of these units 1 fatigue. So this is the 4th fatigue related ability. So a lot of fatigue play going on here.
Right. Brother Galen in the book says that the Moors are masters of fatigue management and how they like to put fatigue on themselves too. But I don't go with Brother Galen was not describing Majik's troops. We don't like to put fatigue on ourselves, and Discord is, and it's kind of the same criticism I have with Doubts is, yeah, sure, you get to throw 3 out there, a la the Anglo-Danes, but the opponent has the choice to his actions to get rid of them, and you just spent 2 of your dice.
Yeah.
My army generates 6 Saga dice, and I will just have generated or just spent 1/3 of my Saga dice output on something you can clear away in a blink of the eye. And then imagine you're fighting the Vikings who have all kinds of fatigue, clearing abilities. It becomes, I mean, any orders reaction that puts fatigue on the enemy to me seems, borderline useless. It's just, the opponent has the time before. Okay, you played it after he played his dice, but he can say, okay, now what am I going to redo? How am I going to redo this? He still has a way to get around it, I think. I don't know. Do you think this is actually the thing that I should have been using all along, or what?
No, I don't think so. I think you got the right of it because they get to go before you. You put the fatigue on yourself, and they can hammer your unit. So you'd have to have like a specific army build in mind to go along with this. Have the 3 4-man units in the backfield, if you want to do one of those type things. But I don't like doing those units kind of like that.
Neither do I.
Something specifically. So this one, I don't even think is where Doubts we said could be good in the late game. This one, I think, the late game, it's not any better because you only have 2 or 3 or 4 units left, and so you know exactly who they're gunning for.
Right.
I think it's only really icing on the cake if you just overwhelmingly outnumbered them in units and had 3 units off to the side weren't going to get into the fight, and they only had 3 units left, or you knew that was going to cause some pain. Putting the fatigues on those units, maybe them, but this one more.
Yeah, I would say maybe if the Moors could trade this ability to your pagan peoples and get one of your really cool abilities in return.
Oh, sure, some kind of.
Are we allowed to do that? Can we have
program?
Like season trades at the end of the season? Trade some, and I'll trade you Discord, and you give me something something that I can use.
That's it. That's an interesting idea. Some kind of battle board stock exchange. Who's hot right now?
Yeah, if you're playing in a league, allow the at the end of the first round of games, or first season of games, to be able to trade battle board abilities.
I think you go straight in, choose any 10 battle board abilities you want, and that's your board.
Oh, there you go.
That would be some insanity right there.
That would be playing Warhammer. So, who can recruit the best army? So
although you'd have to, you'd have to stick to the same Saga dice though, I think, or else you're gonna have.
There you go. That's a nice tweak.
I
like that.
Some issues there. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. So I think we can just flush this Discord down the toilet and put something over the top of that. What is it you guys said? Put something over the top of the battle board so you don't even look at it and think about it.
Oh yeah. I will do that. I kind of have markers with nothing on them. If I know that I can't activate it, like if it's a rare and I didn't get a rare, I'll just put it on there. Or if I know it's not usable, so I think that might be a good idea because instead of 10 decisions, you only have 6 decisions to make, or where you want to go. Right. So
don't have the information overload looking at you.
Mm-hmm.
So
all right. Well, let's pop down to Horses of the MAGHREB. Is that?
Yep, MAGHREB. Yes.
This is just a comment orders ability. Till the end of the turn, your units mounted on horses have a movement distance of long plus short, and that's awesome.
Include units with a greater move. I don't think there's anything in this army that has a greater move, but anyway, I do like this ability, but it is situational. I will actually measure out before I decide what I'm going to put anything on that. If my troops of my Hearthguard are already within range, then I won't use it. But early in the game, it's a really fun, clever thing to do to stick your units a long and a short away from, especially like a deployment or whatever, away from the enemy, so they think that you can't get to them, but actually you can. With extra little bit of a short. The hardest part about remembering is you got to do it during orders phase. There has been many times where I'll put a dice on there and I'm starting to do my movements. I'm like, oh crap! Hey, can I go back and play Horses of MAGHREB? I forgot to play it. And sometimes even as I place it, I'll say to somebody, I'm playing this in orders phase, even if I forget to play this in orders phase. But yeah, it's a great ability. It allows you to do, and it's a linchpin in my attack plan of sheltering my horses behind my Hearthguard, behind my spear wall, because you need that. You take the 2 mediums, you come out from behind the spear wall, and that extra little dance around takes up a little space, and that short is enough to put you in medium range for the javelin throw. And then you can come back too. If you were able to make it, you would come back also. So that extra little short actually allows me to tuck them back down behind the infantry and out of sight and hopefully out of range of the opponents. So I like this ability a lot.
Yeah, this one's awesome. So cheap. That short, it's really all you need. That's what Saga. There's 2 ranges in Saga, just over long and just under long. That's all we're dancing around, really. So yeah, if you have this up, you can move into the infantry, shoot them, and then scoot back. And if you didn't have this up, you would, unless you did a double move back, you'd have to be, basically in charge range. But with this, no, sorry, no dice. So we were looking at a triple move if your infantry want to bring it to my cav. So great.
Right. Yeah. This was actually the very first time I did this tactic, and it was my very first game with the Moors. I'd thought about it, and that was my plan. I was going to do that, and I did that. I scooted my guys out. I took 12 shots, at the opponent, and just evaporated one of his composite bow horse units. And then I ran him back behind there, and he looked up at me. And this is a former history teacher, and he looked up at me and gave me that look like, are you cheesing me? I'm like, hey, wait a minute. This is the way the Moors fought, so you can't call me cheesy.
This is how we did
I
it.
love horses MAGHREB, but
that's awesome.
Allows them to fight like they did. So so that's another winner on the board.
Great ability. I can see why. You'd use that every time. Even too, just from a dice efficiency. If you wanted to move along plus a short, normally that'd be 2 dice to do that. But if you pop this up, if it saves you 1 or 2 or 3 activations, that's huge. Big efficiency.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of the extra little hidden bonus part of it you didn't think about. So, and I mean, those horse figures are big too. And I usually like to run mine in like 2 ranks of 3, just so they're not taking up too much space laterally either. And so you sometimes need that to be able to get the second rank in there, within that javelin tossing range.
And that's true. It depends. If you're really oval or the line, the first rank, they go in sideways, so the guys behind, they come perpendicular to them. So you're just in range.
Formation. The famous T formation of the
T.
So I do have to admit that it's stalled now, but I've been talking about painting Mongols, and I've got all of one unit painted up, which I actually entered in your contest. And I literally found the smallest oval bases I could physically fit them on with not falling over. And I even went out and found sinkers at a fishing shop and put these sinkers all on the base to make them bottom weighted and everything. So it's a big part. I mean, it's a gamey part, I'd say. But hey, the game is against mounted archers or mounted javelin. I mean, it's with all the terrain that can be out there. Us horse archers or horse javelin men, we need whatever bonuses we can get. So don't call us cheesy.
No, well, for the most part, base size doesn't really matter unless you're a horseman with a javelin or a bow and you're trying to get everybody in. If you have a 12-pack of warriors, bases definitely matter then when you're trying to get every one of those guys in the medium range. So I hear ya. I got nice small bases for my Roman cavalry. Those are the last cav I painted up. So let's move on to the final 3 here. Inspiration. This is another fact ability. Melee, you can use any dice you want. If your unit's within short of a friendly unit, which has taken no casualties since the start of the game. This is weird. I've never seen an ability like this. It can reroll 1 scored on its attack and defense dice. And 1s, 2s, and 3s if you used a rare. So, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot to digest, but it's my number 1 combat ability if the enemy doesn't have fatigue. Charge in with my javelin men with the Hearthguard. And my whole thing is predicated around me not taking casualties. So we'll take that into late stages of the game, usually us not having taken a casualty, because you're always within, that short of yourself.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. So assuming you're not taking casualties, that's good. If I am, then the warlord runs out there to be close enough to within the back rank guy. But this is the second place I put a rare. This is number 2 because you go up to 1s, 2s, and 3s, which makes a big difference if you're charging Hearthguard or something like that. It's not so big of a deal, difference between re-rolling 1s or ones, twos, and threes if you're charging levy. But yeah, I like inspiration a lot. I think it fits well with the battle plan of my army, and the whole preserving of my mounted attack force. I can be at the end of the game and still using inspiration.
Yeah, I guess this ability is really cool, having it be attack and defense. And I think, yeah, you really need to use that rare here to get the bang for it. You don't use the rare, you're probably not going to roll any ones. But maybe that's good anyway. Just if you're hitting on twos anyways.
Right. Incidentally, us being javelins, we do get the +1. My Minute Hearthguard get the +1 when charging. And up until playing the Moors, that was my single most forgotten rule. That I would be in the middle of the game, I'd be so excited, getting the dice piled up, and I would forget it. So I actually, and you probably saw it in our game, I have a impaled figure that I put out there, to remind myself to be the +1 for javelins. I put him out there next to where I'm staging my dice, and because I will forget. I will forget that all the time. So I really like this ability. I think it's a good ability.
Yeah, and I think it really makes you play meticulous too. I think you can't, if you get sloppy and they put do a move and get a shot on that unit, like boom, that's it. They can't use it anymore.
Then you're going to need to use an extra thing to get the warlord within range of them, or
you can't strike out on its own to deliver the blow.
Right, but what I'll do sometimes though is, because I have 2 mirror image units, the 2 6-man, 2 6-packs of Hearthguard. If one of them gets dinged by something, the other unit becomes the chargy unit that gets inspiration. So you have to kind of get both of them down before I can't use inspiration. And even then, I can still throw the warlord out there. Majik can get out there. His little cheetah can run out there real fast and be within range. And
just requires a little coordination. The warlord doesn't take any casualties until he does, and then he's not there anymore. Oh, cool.
So this is a good one. Yep.
Great ability. All right. Pop down to Hasty Shot, second to last. Common or uncommon shooting reaction. Gain 2 defense dice. At the end of the shooting attack, the attacking unit takes as many fatigue as your unit has. So this looks pretty handy with some mounted Hearthguard. You always want a shooting defense of some kind. And it looks like you got it here if you need it, with a little bonus on top.
If you need it. Yeah, I have used it a couple times with them. My first defense is always to be outside of their range and hiding behind my infantry. So actually, more often than not, this one goes on my archers, on my levy. Because if I've shot them multiple times and taken a fatigue or 2 or whatever to do that, I'll plop that dice out there, that common on there, and the levy archers are taking the incoming from the enemy, and I'm like, okay, now you got another fatigue, and so I'll use it there. But if the opportunity arises and my Hearthguard are getting shot, of course I would protect them too with this. But more often than not, it actually gets played to save a few archer casualties, or better yet, inflict the fatigue on the enemy.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a good play. You could probably catch me out with that. I would just assume, even if I didn't have anything to threaten your Hearthguard, that you would just hold it in case of something. But if you just popped it on the levy and I'll take a fatigue when I wasn't expecting it, that would be quite annoying. So
that'd keep you from shooting 3 times at me.
Yeah, definitely. All right. I'm going to let you handle the big boy here, Torrent of Iron.
So we've got an uncommon and a rare. It's an activation ability. It's Majik Ibn Battuta Al-Wakaz's favorite ability on the entire battle board. Only for mounted Hearthguards. Only the elite get to use it. Only the nobles get to use it. So it's activate one of the units for a shooting attack or a rest. Incidentally, it was clarified in the fact that even if you don't have any fatigue, you can still activate for a rest. During the shooting attack, it gets a +1 bonus to all its attack dice. If it's a rest, it will remove 2 fatigues. And I'm kind of stopping to tell you some little insight in this. However, if you do the shooting attack the way, now maybe you can clarify this for me, Rodge.
Mm-hmm.
If I choose to do, if this is their first action of the game and I still choose the shooting attack, then when I charge in after that free shoot, or is even declared a free shoot, am I going to come into the combat with a fatigue on me?
You would, I guess.
That's the way I've played it too. And so your
I'm
choice
just reading
is
down here, though.
Yeah, so if you use it for the shot, it's a nice juicy +1 shot, but you're going to go into combat with the fatigue. If you use it for the rest, you don't get the nice juicy +1 shot, but you're coming in, and here's the rest of it. Next, activate the same unit to make a charge, which does not generate fatigue. So the fatigue is not going to do it. It's not going to come from the charge. This charge unit suffers a fatigue. The charge unit suffers a fatigue at the start of the melee's resolution, and that is the linchpin right there. As simple as the thing as that last sentence it is, that is the key to this battle board, in my opinion. So if a unit has 1 fatigue on it, and that's your target, well, now you hit them and make them double fatigued. You use both of those to raise your armor up to a 6. Or if by chance you get a unit that's double fatigued, you raise them, you put them up to exhausted, and then you raise it up to 6, and they can't hit you. So, and that's my dream situation. So this is the ability, in my opinion. This is the best ability on the board, because being able to inflict a fatigue on somebody as you go in is really tough, I think.
Yes. So you've been talking about inflicting fatigue on the other guy's turn, how not useful it is, and now we get to it, inflicting fatigue on your turn, before you go in. That's the way to do it. So awesome.
Right, and then and I've got wholehearted keep at that point. So chances are minimum I'm charging somebody with 1 fatigue on them already, and now they're going to have 2, so minimum 4 extra attack dice there.
And you could be re-rolling 1s or 2s and 3s. Yeah, I guess it's 2 rares to pull off that full.
Through the inspiration. Yep, through the inspiration in there, re-rolling 1s through 3s. So this is it. This is what I shoot for. No pun intended. This is what I shoot for in the game, is to get my Torrent of Iron charge. So if I'm having one of those games where I'm not rolling rares, it's kind of, I don't get to do the extra amped up attack that this unit, this ability provides. So I love it. I mean, I think it's really, I structure my entire army around it. I structure my strategy around it, and so this to me is the best one on the board.
Way to go! Okay, now I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the kind of nuance around the rest portion of this, and I guess let me know if you know about this. So, if your unit has 2 fatigues on them, your opponent can muck this up by canceling your rest activation. Have you?
Oh yeah,
have
absolutely.
You heard that? Yeah, just so it really needs to be done. The shooting attack, then the charge. If you have a unit with 2 or 3 fatigues, they can interrupt the sequence, and you won't be able to do the follow-up chart. Yeah, that's just how it works.
Right.
If you.
Oh, I agree. If you got 2 fatigues on you, you don't really have any business. Even though it says you can remove 2 fatigues, that's not the unit you're going to play Torrent of Iron with. You use the other one, because the minute somebody said I'm playing Torrent of Iron and they got 2 fatigues on them, if I'm playing another Moor player, I'm like, okay, I'm canceling that activation and take those 2 dice off the board now. So
that is how it works. I think the fact may even say that specifically. I don't know, something specifically clarifies it. So it might not seem intuitive, and with the latest 2021 fact, there's no change to how that works. But that is how it goes. So if you're playing, anybody playing the Moors, just be aware that is how that one goes. So, awesome. So overall, we've got a lot of fatigue play. I guess the only time I played Moors was against you, and it was such an odd game. And the pagan peoples, a lot of times you got to play the pagan people's game, so you're not paying attention to the other guy's board necessarily. So yeah, we're kind of wearing you down with different fatigue plays. shooting and running in their own way, and then hitting you hard with a couple key abilities. So now I believe you've had a lot of success with the Moors. I
have, and I actually have. I keep a battle record of my stats of what armies they've played. That each army's played, and I think coming into the trip up to Minneapolis and gaming with you and Monty and the rest of the Saga Storm guys, I think they had only lost once. The Moors had to the Irish because I'd never played Irish ever before, and I did not realize that I don't want to try to outshoot the shooty Irish. I should have just smashed them and charged them right and left because that's actually what I've found is, of course, the Vikings with Odin, I found that I don't shoot. I just charge them. I go from being the skirmisher to being the hammer. I go and charge them, then I pull them back. Go and charge them, pull them back. So I didn't realize that on the game against when I played Tyler here in Columbus when his Irish, and he shot the snot out of me, and so I got outshot. But yeah, I've had a lot of success with the Moors. And about my blog and how I like to write up all my battle accounts and everything, and so I think a lot of people read those, and hopefully it inspired some people to try their own chance at the running up, shooting, and running away thing. And I think the nobody's structured to do it better than the Moors that I've played. Now maybe Mongols are too with their drummer. But I would say the Moors are definitely one of the best skirmishing armies out there. But they have the ability to be a charge home army too.
Yeah. So I like that. You kind of, if you want to be a top tier army, it's good to be able to do both. Like if you can only shoot, that becomes a problem, against certain factions and scenarios. So being able to switch gears is awesome. And then you have a lot of efficiency with perseverance, the horses, a MAGHREB, movement stuff, and some fatigue plays here, a mix of attack and shooting. So you got a little bit of everything here. I like. Now you are kind of shunted towards the mounted Hearthguard play, which can always be vulnerable, but this board, I think, does a better job than some of the Crusades ones in catering to those mounted Hearthguards, giving you a reason to take them and ways to keep them alive. So overall, I think you got a nice board here, and I'm not surprised you were able to find success with these guys. Now, we're not going to get into the legendary stuff this go around. Maybe we'll have you back at some point in the future here to talk that. But what do you have any Nemesis war bands, or I guess?
I would say it was interesting.
By Crusaders and the pagan peoples. Like if you're going up against Crusaders, the classic Crusaders. Can you deal with the Crusaders with this board?
I think I can. I think I can. I think the numbers. I said it before we started talking. I think it was 11-3-2 is their record, and 2 of the 3 came up. One against you and the pagan peoples, and one against Monty when he was playing the Baltic Crusaders. I don't know if I should mention the fact that, Monty and I had talked about a potential matchup between the Moors and the Baltic Crusaders, and we were kind of talking through, kind of kriegspieling what we would do if we face each other. And then when we actually face each other, Monty did the exact opposite of what that he was going to do.
That old cagey fox.
The silver fox. I did not know he was going to metagame me on that one, but no, seriously, what he did is he did the double charges with his mounted to say, I don't care if I lose my knights too. I just want to take out your mounted Hearthguard because they're the only thing really that I'm scared of on your board. And you are vulnerable to that. You're absolutely right, Rodge, that you're putting a lot of your eggs in one basket there. And no matter how much you try to protect that basket behind the wall of the infantry, I mean, he moves out 1 long and charges in 1 long. I mean, 2 longs is a big distance on a saga board.
Yes, it is.
So yeah, they have some vulnerabilities. There's, like I said, we're 11, 3, and 2 with our losses being to the pagan peoples, the Baltic Crusaders, and the Irish. So it's as you can see in there, it's a little bit of variety. It's a shooty army from hell, your army, the pagan peoples, and then the straight up in your face mounted charge army, which is of course what the Crusaders can be, the Baltic Crusaders. So
Sure.
So yeah, I think they're a good army, but there's very few armies that have no weakness. In Saga, that have no, that you sit down across some table and say, well, I lost this game. There's always something you can do.
Awesome. Glad to hear. Well, we're getting close to our time limit here, so I want to thank you again for coming on and sharing your knowledge with us. Much appreciated.
Well, I hope that my knowledge was good. I mean, I've been playing the game. I looked it up to see when my first game of Saga version 2 was. It was August of 2019. So in the grand scheme of things, I'm still a relative newbie. So I'm very, very flattered that you wanted me on, me and Majik Ibn Battuta Al Waqa'an, to tell us the tales of our battles. And our Cheetah Shirako put in his little input too. But no, it's great to talk to you again, Rodge. I had a blast coming up there and meeting you guys and in Minneapolis, and hopefully again soon. It might have to be Adepticon or something like that.
That'd be cool. Well, you may not have been playing too long, but you've been getting games in. So it sounded like 16 with these guys. That's the important bit. We might know Saga players who haven't had 16 games yet and been playing for 5 years. So, that's pretty good.
That's true. We're very fortunate here in Saga, Ohio, that we have 2 monthly game days, and now we're starting to have tournaments. We've had 2 tournaments in the last couple months, and we got another one coming up in December at DayCon.
Oh, nice.
Another Age of Vikings tournament. So I get to play again. It's an Age of Vikings one, so I'll probably bring my Scots out again because they had such a poor outing at CincyCon. But we'll see.
It's a redemption. Okay. Well, I can't wait to hear it.
My opponent rolled incredible on that. I know that's a poor Saga player that blames their opponent's dice, but that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
All right. Sounds good. Well, thanks everybody for watching. If you play the Moors, I'm sure there's people who do things differently, and I'd be curious to hear where your experiences differ from Michael's, and where, if you take a different build, what you use, if you prefer the crossbows, if you go 3 points of Hearthguard or stick with 2 maybe. I think there's a couple of ways you could work it.
Or use the mounted warriors. Yeah. Let's hear from it. I want to hear, especially the people who successfully use mounted warriors and Storm of Blades. Yeah, I definitely want to hear from you.
Oh, yeah. I think that would be the unit to use it. So, okay, cool. Well, thanks again. We hope to have you on again sometime soon. And if people want to hear your sultry tones, Saga Ohio podcast is still going. There's a little bit of a break there, but it sounds like by the time this comes out, there'll probably be a few more episodes.
Should be at least one, if nothing else,
in the works, and I really enjoy listening to that. We need more Saga content out there, and it's fun to listen to your guys and your perspectives, and wish you the best. Talk to you again.
All right, thanks. Yeah,
see you
good
soon.
to talk to you. Bye.
Bye. Saga! If you'd like to see more Saga content, consider joining the Heathen Army over on Patreon, or popping on down to the Saga Thursday Discord server. Links below. Thanks, guys.